Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this session and a warm welcome back to those who have been attending sessions on transformative pedagogies. My name is Rehab Ndwati from Kenya. I would like to introduce our next speaker, Vanessa Louise Temple, who specializes in early years and online education. Vanessa is the Director of Education for Sophia High School. In her work in Kuwait, she played a pivotal role in ensuring that over 1,500 early years students had continued access to quality education during the pandemic and seamlessly transitioned back to the classroom upon their return. Let's give her a warm round of applause as she takes the stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rahab, and thank you to ICTE 2023 for inviting me to join such an amazing conference. I am thrilled to be here, and I hope that the things that I share are very useful to everybody. I really, this is all about a sharing community. I've had discussions this morning with some of our partners, and we were talking about being connected and how that validates what everybody's thinking and doing. So thank you so much, and I hope that this is useful for you. So just a quick introduction briefly after that. So this is me looking very young. I am an early years specialist. I've been working in early years since 1991 and internationally since 1995. Really what I focus on is early years and now online, and that's extended into the work that I do at Sophia High School, which is not just an early years program. I'm Director of Education for that, and we go all the way through to IGCSEs. So really, what good online education supports learning at any age and at any stage. And I think it's really important that we have an open mind as to how online and hybrid education really is changing the landscape of education as we move forward. So what will I share this session? Purpose of what the online and hybrid education model is. So I'm going to do a little bit of a defining here. So online really is delivery online, and hybrid is, of course it is, hybrid has an element of a live element as well. So it could be teachers in the classroom, or it could be in a learning hub. So online is online, face-to-face through a screen, but hybrid has a live element as well. And this is something that I think really needs to be explored as we move forward, because personal connection is something that we're all needing, particularly now. So we're going to look at the purpose. We're going to look at design. We're going to look at transforming it from an idea to a pilot, and then learning from doing, because only by understanding how we can create meaningful and purposeful education for online and hybrid delivery can we look at how it's going to be most successful and most impactful. We're going to look at what success may look like. And again, that's very subjective. It can be very different for different schemes. And where will those experiences take you? Something that we're going to look at as well is how to extend what we know, and then involving and supporting partners, maintaining quality assurance and the vision for the future of education. It's really important that we look at this through a lens of a starting point. What we're doing now is really just the starting point of what can be done and where it can go, and the impact that it can have on the lives of students and actually on communities, because that's where we're thinking about making impact. So, disclaimer, discussing the transformative power of online and hybrid education is purposeless unless you do understand why and how. So when I work with clients, and when Sophia works with clients, and we work with partners around the world, there are 2 points that really bring it home. It's got to be purposeful, and it's got to be relevant. So relevant is a word that I think is extended across education at the moment. We have so many students who are disenfranchised because they cannot see the point of education. We have so many students who have switched off because they don't see what they're learning in schools relevant to their real life. They don't see that connection, and therefore it's very easy for them to switch off and say, oh, I don't need it. So purposeful, identifying really what we need to do to make a difference, and then making it relevant. And the relevance has to be to the students. This is something that is a little bit of a groundbreaking idea for some aspects of education leadership. but it's got to be relevant to students because they're the people on the receiving end of it. So disenfranchised students, they need and they deserve an education that allows them to access futures that they may not even imagine. And this is where technology and immersive and the metaverse education is coming in, because these aspects are something that are unimaginable to most of our students, and that it's going to be the world of the future. So preparing them for that, or for giving them a dream. So how are we going to bring that dream to life? If they've had it, how can we skill them and how can we support them moving into a future that they have envisaged and that they are confident with? So working with different partners, it's clear that not all needs are the same. And so the model of school is really important that you work together with. It's bespoke. We talk about getting to the bottom of things. What is the heart of what we want to do? So some things are very relevant. What's the size of the project? I work with some very small projects, and we're also starting to plan for some extremely large projects. Do you deliver those in the same way? No. So what are the guiding factors to delivering a program that impacts the students that are the target students and the target communities? Size, of course. Is it subject specific or is it full curriculum? There are lots of initiatives now around the world where research has shown that there is a specific need, whether it's for literacy and numeracy, or it's for ICT skills, or it's for leadership. What is the purpose? What subject areas are you going to be developing in this program? Because again, that can impact the way that it's delivered and the curriculum that is covered. Is there any regulatory requirement? Sometimes with an organization or with the Ministry of Education or with the government, there is some regulation there in place, and sometimes it has an impact on what you want to do. Usually not, because you're looking at the most purposeful form of education that you can deliver to the students that are on the receiving end. But sometimes there are regulatory requirements, and that's important that you explore those before you tease out your model of what it's going to look like for this project. So does it meet the needs of the government or the charity or the international organization? Again, that comes back to what is the purpose. So they will have success criteria. And we talk about that a lot as educators. What is the success criteria? You know, what is the rubric? How are we going to develop the rubric for success to move along so we know that we've reached really the goal that we wanted to? So that's something that's really important. And it's not success for the same for everybody. What is success for the students? What is success for the teachers and the leaders? What's success for the program? What is the success for the communities? All those different aspects of success are really important to consider. Does it meet the needs of the community? This is something I will talk about quite a lot as we go through, because the community, students don't live in isolation. They live with families. They live in communities. And how you develop the form of education that you're going to deliver online or hybrid is really central to the impact that it will make on the community. It's not just about education. It's about delivering a model of education that is impactful on many, many levels. And we'll discuss that a little bit later. So meeting the needs of the community, yes, it's important that the students impact, but what impact does that have in a wider scope? And then, of course, meeting the needs of the students. And there are lots of research programs out there and lots of beginning to be evolved programs out there by ministries and by organizations about, you know, teaching where it's relevant, teaching to the student. What is the level that they need? And that match between where the student is, what you're teaching, and then moving them forward to where they need to be. That's absolutely central. So meeting the needs of the students, because this is why you're putting together this program. So I'm just going to mention as we go along, if you want to put anything in the chat, any questions as we go along, please do so. I'm very happy to answer things as we go along if they're relevant to where we are. If they're coming up and I think, okay, I'm going to talk about that later, I will leave that question in the chat for later. But please put your questions in there. I think it's really important that you have a voice and that I can respond to you, because this is something that really is going to be ongoing for quite a few years. And I'd like everybody to have an understanding of the backstory as well as how it impacts education. So, designing your model. When I worked with my early years group in Kuwait, it was in the pandemic, and there were lots of amazing schools out there that had already been working online for some time. And I did a huge amount of research because we had a tremendous amount of the earliest population that came to our schools, and we wanted to make it as impactful and meaningful as possible. So there are three key elements that really make any kind of online and hybrid school successful. And I think if you go and look at anybody out there that's delivering in this way, you will see that these are the three elements, and they're important to, I would say, keep it in your mind. These are important to keep in your mind because it's three. Everything, I always go triangle of power. There's threes are really strengthening for anything. It's a super strong shape, and it's a super strong way for us to consider what's happening. So the first thing is quality recorded content. At some point, unless you're delivering a program that is almost one-to-one, there has to be recorded content. And why would you deliver anything that's not high quality? So high quality recorded content. Why recorded content? Well, there's many reasons. The first reason is it allows students to access it more than once. If you're only doing a one-to-one session with the teacher, once that's over, you're finished, you've gone. Whereas with a recorded content, you can access it multiple times. If you don't understand it the first time, you can watch it again. If you really enjoyed it and you want to extend your learning, you can watch it again, and then you can decide what you want to do moving forward. It also allows content delivery to be consistent. One thing that you will all know as educators, you give one lesson plan to 2 teachers, it's delivered in 2 different ways. You give it to 10 teachers, it's delivered in 10 different ways, because they add their personal style, they have their personal interests. For larger programs where you have to have consistency of content sharing and curriculum expectations, recorded content allows you to have a consistency of delivery that allows every student to access the quality content that you have with an equal level of understanding. There's no accents, there's no internet breaking down. So high quality recorded content is really, really important if you are delivering consistent education. Next part, live quality connections. What is all parents' concern? My friends won't get any friends. How do they make friends? They're only talking on a screen. How are they going to be part of that smaller community, wider community, global community? Live connections are so, so important. Everybody wants to feel validated. Every student wants to feel that somebody is listening to them. They want to feel that the work is being appreciated, that the work is giving meaningful feedback, that they are connecting with the person who understands them and is thinking about them and knows what they need to help them to move forward. So live quality connections. And again, that's twofold. That's not just a connection with the teacher or the mentor or the tutor at the other side of the screen, where you have that backwards and forwards dynamic. Equally important is the connection between the students themselves. So at Sophia, we have a group size of 6 for English and maths, and the parents love it. The students love it because they are very connected to those students. We're in the same group every day. If somebody is away, we want to know where they are. If somebody, are they okay? Can we message them? It's such a strong connection because this is the world that these students inhabit. So to have a connection between the teacher that allows for confidence and for flow, it's really important. But equally important is the connection between the students themselves. If you think about a live classroom being kind of moved into the internet space, what would you do in a live classroom? You'd have small groups discussing, you'd have couples and pairs thinking about ideas. You wouldn't have the whole group together all the time. Therefore, to have a great dynamic between the students where they understand each other, where they're kind and polite, you've got those, you've got those expectations in place, and they've got confidence to speak with whoever is in the group. That is where the real learning happens, because it's purposeful education. What is the purpose of this discussion? What is the purpose of these students working together? What is the purpose of this communication, collaboration dynamic that is really important that you have to move forward? And if you think about how that works in a live physical classroom, that is exactly how it works. If your program is established correctly to enable students to have that connection between themselves. So important. And the last one of the three is quality supporting materials. Now, this sounds a bit weird because we're online. How do I get supporting materials? Well, it doesn't have to be shared online. When we worked in Kuwait, we actually produced a workbook for each student, and it matched the lessons, and we'll talk about that as we move forward. But it was the highest quality that we could produce. It matched everything. It was beautifully presented. It was published, and it was sent out to the parents. So students had something live and concrete that they could work with. Now, if you have students all over the world, or students who don't have access to, popping into an office to collect something, or having a courier deliver it, how do you have these amazing supporting materials? Well, the thing is, you would store them online. You would have a resource bank. You would have the text that's available in PDF version, or you would have video links to lessons, or to YouTube videos, or to other supporting items that will help bring that together. Teachers can also PDF pages of workbooks if they're using them. If you're using a particular scheme, usually those online schemes will have a version that you can share with students for them to edit virtually. So there's a lot of things out there, and some amazing websites. And again, that's something that we must also take use of, is great websites that support education. So we're not just offering one platform and you must learn everything that we share with us. What we're really looking at is extending that, because we want breadth of learning. We want depth of learning, and we want children to develop that amazing set of skills to go and research, and go to analyze, and go to, really develop some critical thinking. That's not going to happen if you're only giving them one source of information. So part of what you should be doing is developing amazing quality supporting materials, whether they are trusted websites, whether they are a safeguarding approved mentor or tutor, or whether it's a platform that you subscribe to. All those things make that learning richer. And that's what we want to do. We want to engage our students in a range of ways. So we can watch the video. We can then have a live session with our teacher and our friends and have that discussion and get those ideas going. And then we can go to those trusted sources to research further, or to extend our understanding. So this is why it's so important that these three elements are really of the highest quality, that they are trusted, safeguarded, because safeguarding online is always a consideration for online and hybrid education. The thing that is most important, that they are all in alignment. And that is something that leaders who are putting together the program and they're discussing it with outcomes, what is the alignment needed? How are we going to make sure that not just the teachers, that the people preparing the videos, that the people who are confirming that these are the resources we're going to use, it's all got to be in alignment. It's one vision, and therefore communication is really, really important. Stakeholder buy-in at every level, by every stakeholder, is absolutely crucial for this to be successful. Okay, again, I'm waiting for questions. I'm hoping I'm going to get some. We'll move forward. So, question of pedagogy. I've put this in here because this is really how we are transforming education. As teachers, as an early years teacher, this is not a question of transforming pedagogy for me, because I am already on this pathway. That's all early years teachers are. Hooray, let's speak up for early years teachers. High quality teachers, master teachers, experienced teachers, they do work this way anyway, but what we have to do is bring it back to the purpose. So we are, the traditional role of the teacher is transformed in online and hybrid education. It can be a challenge for teachers to shift towards this new pedagogy, or this revised pedagogy, or this refreshed or reminded pedagogy, because we all go back to our comfort zone. If we've learned to teach in a certain way, that's our comfort zone. And if we're asked to do something else, it's very easy to go, that's great, I really love it. And then you slip back in. So it's really important that we have this intense mind shift into what your role as a teacher is, and therefore the pedagogy that you're going to use to deliver this amazing curriculum. And really, there's only two ways I can say, and one way I can say it is going from a content deliverer to a reflective responder. So again, if you look back at those three elements, the video lesson is really what's going to be delivering the content, because we need consistency. We need to make sure that everybody's receiving the same curriculum content. What those personal connections are going to do in those one-to-one meetings or small group meetings where we've got that lovely personal interaction, that's where the teachers are really shifting themselves to be a reflective responder. You are reflecting on the work that the students are submitting online. You are reflecting on what they're showing you in those live lessons, and you are responding to that. Now, what this does is make this education incredibly personal and incredibly meaningful for students. Because what you're doing is you're saying to students, I see you, I see your work, I understand where you are, and now I'm going to give you some feedback, or I'm going to give you some positivity, and we're going to move you forward at your pace. Not at the pace of the 30 other children in the group. I see you. I see your work. I know where you are. I know where you need to be, and I'm going to help you move forward to get there. That can only happen if you ditch content delivery to a certain extent. You still need to know what the content delivery is, and you're going to be dipping in and out of that to extend students. But the main focus of what you're going to do is reflective responder. I should have a t-shirt made with that on, because it's really important. And as I said, early years teachers, because our curriculum is so very dynamic, that's something that they do very easily. As you get higher up the school and you get a set curriculum, particularly when you get to examination levels, how are you turning content delivery into reflective responding for your students? Because just delivering content is really not enough, because that really is about synthesis, analysis, sharing ideas. It really is about responding to text. You are modeling what you want your students to do, which is really, really important. So, content deliverer, turning and transforming into a reflective responder. It's a challenge, but it's so rewarding. As soon as teachers suddenly get that shift, a whole world of new ways of engaging students will open up, and it does. And we get that feedback from teachers all the time. I'm focusing on learning. I'm not focusing on, have I shared this, or have I delivered this? And again, one thing that we need to remember as educators is just because you have taught it doesn't mean to say that a student has learned it. So being a reflective responder allows you to analyze, I've taught it, but has that child really learned it? What have they taken away from that content? So curriculum adaptation, this is something that is really, really important, because in live classrooms, it's 8 hours a day, you're in and out, you've got students coming in and out. Do we want students to be online for 8 hours a day? We do not. Therefore, we have to really take the essence of what is needed from the curriculum, and we have to work with that. Again, moving forward in very personal ways, responding to students is very important. But we cannot have, and we know this from our own work, and we know this from working with partners, you have to condense what you want to do, or you have to pull out what is the essence. And we're going to look at this, the key point. How am I going to get across the key points so that teachers can then reflect on what the students have learned and move them forward onto the range of things that can be extended to? So what is important? That's really the key question. when I am considering my curriculum, what is important? And that comes back to, remember, the first set of questions, which is, what is the purpose? What curriculum elements am I doing? If you are only looking at a program that is dealing with literacy and numeracy, can you pull all the other things in? Yes, because you can use project-based learning to encourage literacy and numeracy. And one of the things that we're looking at, particularly in the UK, is using esports to generate interest from disenfranchised students. Using that platform, developing those skills, it's also necessary to develop English and maths. So that's just like a subsection of learning that's going on. So curriculum adaptation, it's the alignment of the lesson plans, then the videos, then the workbooks and the print materials. You have to pull out what's important, and then you have to deliver to those key messages. So from ideas to pilot, it's clearly not a one-person effort. And this is where we come to communities. That's really where nobody is delivering something one-to-one. It's teamwork behind them. Alignment to vision, it's team, and communication must be clear. Workflow and processes designed to be completed, and deadlines, nobody likes them. But in order to make things flow, it's really important that that happens. So I've just got a question here. In being a reflective responder, it's disappeared. Okay, we'll address that later on. So idea to pilot, it's a team effort. There's not one person. One person might have an idea, but then it's a team that's going to bring it to life. And that's what's really important about when you think about communities. How am I going to deliver this online and hybrid education? There's a community of people working to bring it to life. There's a range of jobs that are created for within that community to bring it to life. It's not just about teacher and student, because there's technology involved in a range of ways. So thinking about putting your team together is really, really important. Learning from doing. That's what we think about all the time. This is what we want for our students. It's what we want for our teachers. It's what we want for our leaders. It's what we want for everybody. We learn through doing, because we know that that's the most meaningful kind of education. And that's the kind that we want for our students and for ourselves. So when I think about what I did with my Kuwait program, we actually did, we made a pilot. And what that did was gave us some really important lessons. It says SC trailer, there's some videos, and we can share those links to those videos later on if you want to have a look at them. So I had a 10-week practice period to define what I wanted this program to look like. Now, this was delivery only. There was no reflective responding. This was really basically, how do we make the highest quality video content? There was no interaction, there was no feedback. But at that time, what we wanted to do was make sure we could make the highest quality videos, because we knew once we'd got that in place, the rest was really another step and another level and another level. But really, again, it comes back to communities. Did we know how to use the equipment? Who was going to use the equipment? Where we were going to use the equipment? How were the videos edited? How were they checked? How, all this stuff that goes behind the scenes, not necessarily the teacher delivering the video content within the lesson. There's a huge network of people behind. And again, coming to community building and to jobs for your community, this is where it's really important, because you have a range of people supporting that are upskilling, they're developing whole new skills, they're developing ways of working, teamwork, all that good stuff that goes on behind the scenes. It's really, really important. Okay. Question, let's address this now. In being a reflective responder, how do you manage paying attention to each student and making that sustainable? Will it not get overwhelming for the teacher over time? I agree that that's a very important point. This is why your ratios of teacher to students has to be sustainable. So online, if you've got a small group, you might have a lot of small groups. That means that you have a similar number of students, but you're not overfaced, and particularly when you're looking at a screen. It is sustainable, but only if you get the numbers right. One of the things that we are very, very conscious of is teacher burnout, teacher well-being, teacher mental health. That's something, it's not, once you've got a teacher in place, it's not just about there you go, off you go. It's about how do we support that teacher? How do we monitor that? How do we mentor that? How do we raise them? So I agree, it is important to pay attention to each student. It's also important to pay attention to the teachers. And this is why you factor in class size, group size, teacher workload. Now, I will be honest, each teacher can have 100, 150 students. That sounds like an enormous amount. If you were looking at having that kind of student number each, you might be only teaching one subject. You might have a group of 10, and in the day, you can have so many groups. You might decide that you're going to do a masterclass with everybody in, and then you're going to do smaller groups and tutorials. So what that does is you factor that into the model that you design. So questions such as reflective responder, how do you maintain this? How do you stop teacher burnout? These are all key questions to ask in the beginning, because if you don't take that into consideration, you can develop a model that everybody loves for that term, and then nobody can sustain it. So it's really, that's a great key question to ask, because that pedagogy, flipping, is something that teachers do find. Anybody who changes the kind of job that they do, transitions in some way, you find it a challenge. So that's a great question, and I hope that I've answered that. So reflecting and moving forward. When we reflect on what went well, what needed to change, and what needed to stop. So those are the, again, it's three key questions. What went well and we're going to keep? What do we need to change because it wasn't quite right? And what did we just go, nope, that's not working for us? And that third piece is equally important. It's another part of one of those triangle decisions. You can't keep everything. Nobody is precious when you are designing these models and you're trialing them and you're bringing them to life. If it doesn't work, nobody's going to be upset, or shouldn't be upset if we go, do you know what, that's not working. That really isn't something that we need. It might be something we can shelve until later. It might be something we say, this is really not working for us at all. It doesn't fit this model. Let's go back and have a think about what we can do this. What went well, that's something that everybody's focusing on. And don't forget, you've got your success criteria. You've hopefully put together a rubric. What needs to change, that also can be part of that dynamic. And what needs to stop? That's usually missing from any rubric. What do we throw out because it's not working? Who knows? You don't know until you give it a go. You don't know until you've done a pilot or a trial or you've been reflecting. In no way can you have an amazing plan and deliver it and think that's the best plan I could ever have without being reflective. We ask the students to reflect on their learning. We ask teachers to reflect on their learning. We ask leaders to reflect on their leading, and we have to reflect on what we are designing and how we are delivering it based on that brief. It's cyclic. I'm going to wave my arms around now. The cycle of learning. We move forward, we go back. We can move forward, we go back. That whole idea system of moving forward, moving back, moving sideways, shifting gear, so important for us. This is the world that our students live in. There's no linear path to success. Things happen all the time, and we are dodging and weaving and creating and reforming. And this is what we do with this as well. It's so important that we have that reflective and we are honest about it. You cannot have somebody in a project that will not accept critical friendship, shall we say. It's because it's not here. Sometimes a hard decision has to be made because the success of the program comes before not upsetting somebody, or comes before one particular person or one particular idea. The success of the program, because it's going to impact so many lives, will always come first. And hopefully you've got together your team that we are in alignment of vision. We've already communicated this, and we are all open and receptive to change. We're open and receptive to saying that was great. And we're equally open and receptive to saying that is not working. Let's rethink this to make sure that this is a success. So things that we need to have in place. Technology, you've got to buy the equipment sometimes if you don't have it around. You've got to skill users. Are these people in place? Have you got the right people for the technology? Curriculum adaptation. How is that done? Who's doing it? How is that done? How is that then communicated? How are those curriculum key points delivered in lesson plans and then shared in videos and then communicated to teachers and the support in the workbooks or the materials? How is that flowing? Is it flowing? If it's not flowing, it's got to flow. What are you going to do about it? So curriculum adaptation. Filming, you've got staff, you've got people who are going to be in front of the camera, which is actually more difficult to get than you would imagine. Everybody loves watching it. Nobody wants to be filming. So again, if you've got people who are really keen to do that and you can develop those skills, you are so lucky. So filming staff, you've also got people who are behind the camera, editors, schedulers, checkers, all this back office kind of teamwork that goes on. How are the workbooks being developed? Delivery platform. What platform are you going to use? Now, for online and hybrid, you just think, okay, it's via a platform. Not necessarily, because one of the things that you're looking at is when you're impacting large numbers of students, particularly if they don't have access to internet, is they've got these amazing video lessons. How am I going to share them? Could it be via the radio? Could it be on a hard drive that's shared with the teacher? So she has all the video lessons for this term on her hard drive and she can plug them into her screen or her TV in the classroom and the quality lessons can be shared that way. And she's there for, in that hybrid mode, she's supporting the video lesson of the teacher. This is not just an online. This again is different ways of getting these high quality contents to sometimes enormous amounts of children. When we're thinking about refugee children who really have very limited access, if you can't access it, can it be shared on a community screen? Even better, could it be shared via television? I know that during the pandemic, this is definitely something that some countries were exploring. And I think that when you look at the impact of these high quality video lessons, it's only one part of it. But if it's the only part that you can deliver, is that something that you consider? Because then all children have access to the highest level of content delivery. It's not everything, but it might be something that just tips the scales for a community. And that's something that should come into that whole, why are we doing this? What is the purpose of this project? If it's to get high content delivery to an enormous amount of children, then what platform is that going to be? Could it be television? Could it be, hard drives or USB with content on? Could it be on the radio? There's a range of technology out there that can be used and that we must explore all of it to make sure that we reach those children that we need to reach and those communities that are really in need. So live connection lessons and teacher training, that's something also important. If your teacher is transitioning to be a reflective responder, what does that look like for an online teacher? How can we do that? And that's another really significant part of how we bring this transformation about, is also how we bring teacher training transformation about. Does that have to be live? And what does it look like? Because teaching online is very different from teaching live in a classroom. So again, that's so significant that we acknowledge that challenge for teachers and we support them, because it's not instant. And again, comfort zone, I'm going to go back to the way I like to teach. That's also something that's going to challenge the success of your program. So I'll move past that because I will share the videos with the links later on. I think it's just a little bit challenging. You'll have to stop and wait for me to move forward with changing screens. So what does success look like? And again, we mentioned this at the very beginning. Success is different for every project because its purpose is different. And what you want to be doing, as we've said already, is developing success criteria, developing those success criteria rubrics so you can celebrate the small wins along the way. If you have one end of project success criteria, all children can read and write. Wowee, that's amazing. What will really help is that you've broken it down into stages so that we can celebrate the small wins, that we can celebrate moving along that continuum of progress. And also we can stop and we can halt it if we think, do you know what, we're just not moving forward. How am I going to get there? Because what we're doing right now is not moving forward. Again, please remember peaks and plateaus. All learning for students, for teachers, for leaders, for organizations, peaks and plateaus. We go up, we have an enormous learning curve, and then for ages we just cruise along because we're reflecting or we're reorganizing, and then again there'll be another leap forward. So a continuum is not a straight line that you just drive through. It's a bit wobbly, and the purpose of range of success criteria is to make sure that you are aware of different options and go back to what success looks like for different stakeholders. What does it look like for students? What does it look like for teachers? What does it look like for the organization? And again, if you're working on a project that's a large-scale project, what does this look like for communities and what impact have I made? And then, of course, that leads up to measuring impact. What studies are you going to do? What surveys are you going to do? What data are you going to collect? Because it's not enough to say everybody's learned how to do something or we all feel better about it. There has to be data at the end of it that shows that's measurable impact. And that's really significant, not just for projects, but for students. You want to feel, I started here and I've made so much progress and now I'm here. And how great I feel because I've been achieving something, because this may be the only achievement that a student has that they can count as their own. It's really important we look at the impact of success. So when I did my project in Kuwait, which I will come back to at one now, the student outcome, it was really clear. All students who attended regularly and completed this full year were working at or above grade level expectations. It was very clear with the data when the children entered school that if you had been on this program, you were not only working at the level we expected, but quite a few students were working ahead. Students who attended part of a year had made some progress. They definitely weren't at the stage that they finished the previous year. Students who didn't join the program when they joined back, they were working at their own level, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But there was a distinct data-driven purpose to what we'd done. And we saw that when we had children returning to school. Now that did have live element and video and print workbook. But again, the success criteria for us was based on those three things being in place. If you don't have those three things in place, then you have to look at what is realistic for your success. So as I said, we had over 1,500 students online every day. These are children who were 3, 4, 5, 6. We had over 100 teachers trained to deliver a quality program online. So that was 100 teachers that had a job, that had a regular job, and that were very thankful because this was a time when a lot of teachers did not have a job because schools were closed. We had over 30 staff working full times behind the scene, and easily we could have had a lot more, but we were kind of constricted. Technical skills, they were developing those technical skills that could be used in a variety of other ways. We're not just looking at one project. We're looking at developing skills that can be used within the community. We have a continual development of use of platforms as upgrades were added. So we chose a particular platform, we moved with that, and we upskilled our teachers as we went along. One thing that we found about this program is that it can be used endlessly. As long as there are teachers who know how to deliver the program effectively, the recorded videos are always there. Always. The printed materials, you just reprint. The only missing piece for delivering this program year after year after year was teaching the teachers, was making sure that they knew about those live connections. And this is something that is important when we're looking at devising impactful online learning. Is it just for this year? Is it for multiple years? Is it for every year? How can we make this sustainable? Again, part of this sustainability, how are we making sure that impact can be measured year after year after year? It's key that what you do is deliverable time after time after time, because you've got students coming through this cohort, the next cohort, the next school year. It's really important that you have something that is not just a one-time use, because that's really not what you want from your program. You want it to have maximum impact. And to have maximum impact, one of those things is maximum years. How can I deliver this year after year after year? Am I going to change it? Yes. Can I reflect on it? Yes. But the core, the bones of what we've got is what is going to be used year after year after year. And that was very clear from our program. And it's very clear from a lot of the programs that we're working in development right now. is that we want students to access it at a range of times, at a range of levels, and over multiple times. So again, endlessly. If you can devise a program that can be used time after time after time again, one, it's extremely cost effective. So the cost is going to come into this somewhere. I don't talk about cost a lot, but at some point somebody's going to say, there's a giant budget for this. I need it to be within this budget. And that's okay. So let's look at the next slide. I'm hoping that everybody's kind of following on and can gain some insights from this. We'll talk about impact in a minute, but you can see how we develop this, how it can be impactful. So moving forward, I work at Sophia High School, and we do have an early years program there. We do have students from 5 years, but this is not a video-based program, because when we looked at, the essential question is for us, what does it look like for Sophia students? And as our teacher ratio is 1:6 is the maximum, most of what we do is live facing. We do some content delivery that way, but mostly, again, the teachers have transformed from content deliverers to reflective responders. And this is all the teachers from all the early years through the primary school, the high school, secondary school, and then on to these IGCSE teachers that we have with us who are delivering. That is content delivery, because you've got a curriculum to follow and exams at the end. But how they deal with the students has transformed to being reflective responders. So that's really, really important. All our teachers have had to have this mind shift in pedagogy. And that really is key for us as an organization, that we understand, we promote this, that our teachers are also in agreement. So again, it's that alignment of vision. It's not just alignment of vision of the end product, it's alignment of vision of how we're going to get there. It's that teamwork of how we're going to get there and supporting each other. So Metaverse and immersive environments. I'm going to mention this because Sophia is a leader in metaverse and immersive environments. We are founding members of the Metaverse Education Council. If you're interested in any kind of immersive or online or interactive metaverse, there's lots of different platforms that you can use. Metaverse Education Council has got some amazing guidance in there. We ourselves have been looking at Metiquette. It comes back to, what do we do online? Are we polite? Are we kind? What are the rules of engagement within that platform? And so Metiquette is something that we have looked at Sophia very closely, and it's something that you can find guidance from the Metaverse Education Council. It's really central that as we develop these new ways of working, that we develop the humanity behind it. We are kind. We are respectful. We know the tools, we share ideas, we are collaborating, communicating, all those wonderful things. They should happen in those immersive spaces. Just because you're in there doesn't mean to say you can be rude to people or that you are not generous with your ideas, because this definitely is a whole new way of learning. Now, I am a super dinosaur. All this stuff with metaverse and immersive environments, I go in and I am blown away by it. It just really blows my mind. Do I understand it? No. Do I enjoy it? Yes. This is what it's amazing for our students. Young students, they are digital natives, and the younger the student now, they are more ingrained with game playing. Everybody who's got an Xbox, who's got all that kind of stuff, you use those skills. And if you can build it in an immersive environment, it's even more so. So students benefit in many ways. And one of the things I want to come back to is that purposeful. Is this a purposeful curriculum? Are students using these tools in their everyday life? Yes, a lot of them are. And therefore, elevating the use of those students to raise education standards, it's a no-brainer. Let's just do it. So the other thing that it does is it allows students freedom and creativity and independence that they might not exhibit in the real world. So there's a couple of barriers to education that we can't ignore. One, physical location. Some students are really hard to reach because of where they live. Those students with online hybrid and immersive education, pew, they're right back in there. We have students from all over the world, and they collaborate together because they're in these immersive spaces. Students that have physical challenges, students that are in hospital or have medical challenges and cannot literally be in community classrooms because of health issues. They're right there online. They're working collaboratively. They're working with groups of children who are, encouraging them. None of the pressures, none of the concerns of, the health issues or physical issues are there, because I'm in an immersive space with my avatar and I am just one. I'm just one. And that's incredibly freeing and incredibly empowering for a lot of our students. We work particularly with some students who have got mental health challenges. They've been bullied. School environment is not for them. Again, online, hybrid, and metaverse education is a total game changer, because they can be confident in ways that they have never been confident before. And we do have students that come to us, they cannot use the screen, they cannot have their camera on. And then within half a term, they're making videos for their friends in the classroom and sharing and working collaboratively. They just have a sense of safety and confidence. And this is really key for a lot of our students out there who really just switch off. They don't see the relevance and they don't see the purpose of going into education, or they have barriers that can be overcome with metaverse and immersive education. So this is a whole new level of where we can take children to extend education. And let's go back to some of these great, like British esports, all the amazing qualifications. They now have qualifications for level 1, 2, 3. Students who are disengaged and disenfranchised can actually get qualifications that they would never imagine getting, because the method of delivery and the content is relevant to them. So important. Not just, there's lots of things out there. There's leadership programs. There are, amazing online platforms that can be doing this and supporting different aspects of education. When we talk about education, it's not just about literacy and numeracy. It's about the holistic. It's about the physical challenges. It's about amazing creative challenges. It's about personal challenges, all those kinds of things. There's an enormous amount of resources out there that we can tap into. And I think one of the things that I hope everybody takes away from this session is that you need to go and explore what you can find to support the learning of your students that makes education relevant to them. So, extending excellence. At Sophia, we work with a range of partners. So I work personally with Footsteps Global Preschool in Sri Lanka. We've helped set up their program, and they have students all around the world on an online early years program. We learn from ourselves. I advise, they put in place, we reflect, we have regular meetings, we talk to parents, the same as we would do with any other program. We work with Cognita Spain in a different way. What we do is we supply hybrid teachers to them when they find that they cannot have quality teachers physically in schools. And this is something, again, when we're talking about impactful online and digital education, global teacher shortage. I don't know a single school out there that is not finding it a challenge to recruit not even the highest quality of teacher, but any teacher. And that's only going to get more and more severe as years go along. So looking at ways that you can use immersive and online and hybrid education to bring quality teachers to your school is something that I think all programs are going to start to look at. It's not the case of online is second best. A lot of it is about how can we get the highest quality of teacher for the students that we need. And it might be I'm going to deliver online with a local teacher in the classroom who supports the learning, or if it's a chemistry, we've got a technician in the classroom. It's really, really important that we explore these different ways, because children need the connection with the teacher, and having an online teacher that they have that connection with is essentially better than having no teacher at all. But schools will need to have solutions, and this is one thing that they will increasingly consider. So we have projects in development for larger projects. We work with UNICEF, WFP, Calm Foundation. So again, looking with these larger organizations, how can we bring learning to life for their groups of students that do not have access to traditional education? So British esports, it's a game changer. I hope everybody goes and checks them out, because this is the way that you can have some amazing qualifications for students that really don't accept traditional education. So, we work with a lot of other partners, but these are really key ones that I think highlight from early years all the way through to graduates, and then for disenfranchised. This is the impact that it's having on education around the world. It's significant, even though it's quiet. So, supporting partners. It does not necessarily mean access to the internet. As I said before, it can be on a video stick, it can be on television, teacher training. I am a UK Department for Education Early Years mentor, and this is a role that the DFE has developed for online only. Going into schools and supporting teachers and supporting practitioners and supporting settings virtually, allowing us to make the most of our expert time by not driving around from here to there. We jump in and out when it's needed. Teacher training, support, and mentoring is a key aspect of this. Equipment does not need to be expensive to be effective. And again, I'm going to come back to this as one of my last points. It's about empowering communities, upscaling a range of people within your communities, video operators, editors, sound quality checks, printers, publishers, checking, graphic designers, technical support with platforms. Excellent unqualified support staff can play key roles. And this will be, I'm going to stress this now. If you can't get a high quality teacher, but you have amazing people who work within your organization, how can we upskill them easily, effectively, to take on more of a role that they are wanting to do, and that it's something that has a significant impact in their life, in the lives of students and the lives of the community? Just hiring in a teacher from somewhere else is increasingly not the answer. That really is something that I would like everybody to reflect on, and we're coming kind of to the end now. So maintaining quality assurance. How do we do this? We do this exactly the same as we would do in a live school. Everything has to be monitored and maintained. So for our staff and for staff that I work with, we do lesson plan checks. We make sure that what they're doing is what we want them to do. We do lesson observations. They send us videos, or I might jump into a live lesson. We look at workbooks. We look at scrutiny. How are they storing that work? We look at record keeping. How's that being recorded? And what is that being reflected in the report cards? Feedback and goal setting for students and for teachers. And mentoring. I cannot stress enough how important mentoring is for students, for disenfranchised students, students that are struggling, and for our teachers and for leaders. I work in a leadership mentoring program, and that really is all about cascading down what we do. We don't start at the bottom, we also start at the top, and we also start in the middle. So, future of education, as we come to the last minute. Personal access to education, which is based around a relevant curriculum. It uses technology to meet needs which arise and develop skills and competencies which will be needed in the future. It's skills and competencies that is really going to be the way forward. We are not educating students for the world we live in, but for the world we will live in. So a solid skill base is needed to prepare for a range of futures that is out there. So online and hybrid education really will meet the needs of any child anywhere. It already is, and it's impactful in so many quiet ways, and you'll see it being a bit louder as we reach another year and another challenge. I hope that that is giving you some insights into how we develop it, and then the impact it can have, and also how it can maintain and be sustainable. I am excited that you would contact me afterwards. I'm happy to share the presentation. I have my one-page notes as well, but all the links that I've got, and I'm happy to share like a page of links as well of things that are helpful and useful. If you want to reach out to me personally, my work email is on the platform as well. And so I thank everybody for joining me, and I hope it's made a difference.
Yes, it has made a difference. Thank you so much, Vanessa, for your presentation. And thank you for everything that you reminded us about the importance of having a success criteria as we set up the different goals in the institutions that we're in. In case you have any question, anyone, we have a speed networking session after this, so you can follow up more on the topic during that session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.